Welcome to the weekend edition of the Fast Five by Fear and Greed. I'm Michael Thompson, and hello, Sean Aylmer.
Hello, Michael.
Sean, on weekdays, it's all about the Fast Five, so the top 5 business stories in 5 minutes. On the weekend, we still obviously keep it to 5 minutes, but we are going to pick out the biggest story of the week, the sleeper story, which is one that's kind of flying under the radar a little bit, so we'll have a kind of a hot tip for you there. The most remarkable story and our favourite story as well. So let's jump into it. Can I start with the biggest story of the week?
Please, go for it.
Okay, well, look, I think it's really hard to go past the ongoing coverage of the death of Queen Elizabeth II and the global reaction and the preparation for her funeral on Monday shows that even now, more than a week since her passing, it is still the biggest story in the world. Hardly a news bulletin this entire week led by anything other than the Queen. There's been a story on the front page of pretty much every paper as her coffin made its way from Scotland back to London and Charles was proclaimed king. Right now, we've got world leaders, including US President Joe Biden, all converging on London for the funeral. Anthony Albanese, our Prime Minister, flying there a couple of days ago with a group of regional leaders. A few countries not invited, Russia, Belarus, Myanmar, not really any surprises there. And finally, a special mention, Sean, to the many thousands of people lining up in London to see the Queen lying in state. Huge queues, up to 30 hours at times, but I think a real chance to witness history. So that's my biggest story of the week, not just here, but right around the world.
I think that's right. Now, the second biggest story, and certainly would be the biggest story if it wasn't for what's happened in the UK, is inflation in the US. Interest rates are rising, markets collapsed this week, equities and bonds. You just don't get many weeks like that. The trigger point was US core inflation coming in above expectations at more than 6%. Headline inflation's at 9%. You had to have a massive sell-off. The ASX wiped out $60 billion in one day. There's now a very good chance Europe will go into recession, 50-50 chance US will go into recession. Australia may not. China will grow at 3%, not what we're used to, 7 to 8%. This is because interest rates are still rising. Massive week in markets.
Yeah, certainly was. All right, moving on to the most remarkable story. For me, it was the latest development with the Star Entertainment Group. This is the company that's copped really a hammering in the last 12 to 18 months. Extraordinary claims emerging at an inquiry in New South Wales, alleging that the Star hid money from the regulator, operated secret gambling rooms, may have evaded taxes, facilitated $900 million of banned gambling transactions, one thing after another. Now, the saga continues. Star Entertainment found unfit to hold a casino license in New South Wales. We'll see what happens in the next couple of weeks. It's possible that what happens to the Star is similar to what happened in Crown in Melbourne with enforceable undertakings. They won't actually lose the license. But other recommendations kind of even included that patrons be limited to playing in the casino for just 12 hours in a 24-hour period. I just find that remarkable.
Sure is. Look, my most remarkable story is corporate as well. It's Tollway Group's Atlas Arteria's decision to buy 2/3 of the Chicago Skyway. Why is it remarkable? Well, its biggest shareholder, IFM Investors, doesn't want it to do it. Now, in funds management, IFM Investors is a monster. It holds so much sway. Companies spend their lives keeping their big shareholders happy. Not Atlas. It gave the proverbial middle finger to its largest shareholder and bought the toll road. You don't see that every day, every week, or every month, in fact. Remarkable.
Yeah, it's a cracker of a story. Sleeper story, one that's kind of flying under the radar a little bit. What was it for you this week?
It was all about the warning from the banks that mandatory carbon emissions and energy ratings will hit real estate values across the country. Now, this has been simmering, but this week Anna Bligh, former Queensland Premier and now boss of the Bankers Association, said that with a 43% reduction in emissions by 2030, a lot of focus has been on manufacturing and transport sectors, but it needs to shift to households. They have to be part of the solution as well. And that means measuring carbon emissions and providing energy ratings, much like they do in Europe. Ms. Bligh said buyers will start attaching a higher value to low-emitting houses vis-a-vis high-emitting houses. It'll also change the way banks structure their mortgage portfolio and how they lend to buyers. Massive story. Not a lot been told about it yet, though.
Yeah, it is a really big one, that one. All right, let's move on to the favourite story of the week. I think we might be united on this one. This is a cracker. Patagonia founder Yvon Chouinard giving away his company 50 years after he started it. He's 83, and instead of selling the $3 billion outdoor apparel business, he's put it into a trust, which means that the company's annual profit of about $100 million will be used to combat climate change. He said that he's really kind of hoping to influence a new form of capitalism. I think it may just end up influencing other super wealthy individuals to improve their philanthropy, which would be a great thing. Apparently, though, and this is my favorite part of the story, he was included in the Forbes list of billionaires. He hated it apparently so much. He was so uncomfortable with that label of wealth that he started planning to give away his company. He could have sold it, could have listed it, would have given him the cash to do it, but it wasn't going to achieve all the objectives he wanted. So he set up a trust, set up a charity, and gave it away. Admirable, don't you think?
Absolutely. Hard to argue that is the favourite story of the week.
All right, there we go. 5 minutes and pretty much everything you need to know in the world of business. Thank you very much, Sean.
Thank you, Michael.
We'll be back on Monday morning with the top 5 business stories in 5 minutes. I'm Michael Thompson, and this is the Fast 5 by Fear and Greed.